Unblock numb feet and legs fast with this one. Minute Daily Fix. If you've ever sat down in your favorite chair after a long day, only to feel your feet go cold, tingly, or strangely numb, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe it's that heavy, swollen feeling in your ankles by dinner time. Maybe it's the pins and needles that wake you up at 2 in the morning. Whatever it looks like for you, I want you to know something right now before we go any further. You are not alone, and this is not just part of getting older that you have to quietly put up with. According to figures from the American Geriatric Society, about 16% of adults in their 60s already live with some form of reduced circulation in their legs, and that number more than doubles by the time people reach their 70s and early 80s. In other words, if you're feeling this, you're in good company, and it's a widely recognized medical pattern, not something you imagined or brought on yourself. Maybe it started small, a little tingling after you've been sitting too long, easy enough to shake off, and then one day it lingered longer than it used to. Or you woke up and your feet felt like they belonged to someone else for a few minutes before the feeling came back. If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to lean in close, because what I'm about to explain is going to change the way you think about that feeling in your legs and feet. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly why this happens, and then I'm going to show you a simple 1-minute movement you can do sitting right where you are that acts like a pump for your legs. It pushes blood back up toward your heart, wakes up tired nerves, and can start easing that numbness faster than you'd expect. No marathons, no expensive machines, no pills, just a gentle nudge to a system your body already knows how to run, if you simply remind it how. For more than 30 years, I've worked closely with seniors in this field, and I've sat across from countless people feeling exactly the way you might feel right now, frustrated, a little worried, and tired of being told that discomfort is just something to accept. I remember one patient, a retired school teacher in her 70s, who told me she'd started avoiding long car rides and movie nights with her grandchildren because she couldn't sit still through them anymore. It wasn't the numbness itself that bothered her most. It was what it was quietly taking away from her life. That conversation has stayed with me because I hear some version of it constantly. My philosophy has always been simple. The body wants to heal. Often the most powerful fix isn't some dramatic intervention. It's a small, consistent, gentle habit that removes whatever was blocking the body from doing its job in the first place. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today with your circulation, because what you're feeling in your feet and legs is your body sending you a very clear signal. And once you understand that signal, you can answer it. So let's talk about why this actually happens. Picture your circulatory system as a vast network of plumbing running through your entire body. Your arteries carry fresh, oxygen-rich blood down to your legs and feet. Your veins have the much harder job of carrying that blood all the way back up to your heart against gravity. When you were younger, the plumbing was wide, flexible, and clean. As we age, a few specific things start to change. First, the inner lining of your blood vessels, something called the endothelium, starts to stiffen. This lining is where your body produces a molecule called nitric oxide, which acts like a natural relaxant, keeping your blood vessels open and flexible. Less nitric oxide means narrower, stiffer vessels, and that alone slows things down. Second, and this is the part almost nobody explains clearly, your veins don't have the heart's powerful pump helping them on the return trip. Instead, they rely on tiny one-way valves and on the muscles around them squeezing rhythmically to push blood upward. Doctors call this the venous muscle pump. When you sit for long stretches, which most of us do far more than we realize, that pump simply stops working. Blood starts to pool in your lower legs and feet. That's the heavy, swollen feeling. And because that pooled blood isn't moving, your nerves stop getting the oxygen they need, which is exactly what produces that tingling, burning, or numb sensation. It's a traffic jam happening quietly in your lower body every single day that you stay still for too long. Here's what surprises most of my patients. This isn't only a problem for people with serious heart conditions. Even completely healthy aging reduces the elasticity of your smaller blood vessels over time. That decline is normal, but it is also very fixable, especially the part connected to your muscles, because muscles respond to movement almost immediately at any age. Think about it this way. If you had a garden hose lying flat on the ground with nothing pushing water through it, the water would just sit there. Squeeze the hose rhythmically along its length, and suddenly that water is moving again. Your calf muscles are doing exactly that job for the blood in your lower legs, 24 hours a day. whether you realize it or not. The problem is, most of us spend our days sitting in chairs, in cars, at the kitchen table, in front of the television, and that rhythmic squeezing simply doesn't happen. The muscle pump goes quiet, and the blood that should be climbing back up toward your heart just settles. Instead, exactly where you feel it, in your ankles, your feet, and your toes. The good news in all of this is that unlike a lot of things that change with age, this particular part of the system responds almost immediately once you start using it again. You don't have to rebuild anything from scratch. You just have to wake it back up. So let's get to the fix, because I promised you something you can do right now, sitting exactly where you are. I call it the ankle rocker and toe splay, and it directly reactivates that venous muscle pump we just talked about, targeting the deep muscles in your calves and feet that do the heaviest lifting when it comes to pushing blood back up your legs. Start seated with both feet flat on the floor. Without lifting your toes off the ground, raise your heels as high as you comfortably can, really squeezing the muscles in your calves as you do. Hold that squeeze for a slow count of 2. Then lower your heels back down and immediately lift the balls of your feet and your toes instead, pivoting on your heels. You're essentially rocking your feet back and forth, heel to toe, in a smooth, controlled rhythm. And that rocking motion uses your calf muscles like a piston, forcing stagnant blood up and out of your lower legs. Do this rocking motion 10 to 15 times, really feeling those muscles engage. Once you've finished the rocking, keep your feet flat and move into the second part. Spread your toes apart as wide as you can and hold that spread for about 5 seconds, then scrunch them tightly together. Repeat that spread and scrunch pattern 5 to 10 times. This small movement does 2 things at once. It improves the tiny blood vessels in your feet, and it stimulates the nerve endings there, which helps with both the numbness and your balance. A few coaching notes that make a real difference. Go slowly. This isn't about speed. It's about really feeling the squeeze in your calves and the stretch across the top of your foot each time. If your calves start to cramp, ease off and shorten the range of motion rather than stopping altogether. And if you're steadier standing than seated, you can do a gentler version holding onto the back of a sturdy chair, though seated is perfectly effective and safer for most people starting out. Put together, the rocking and the toe work make up your complete 1-minute fix. Try to do it 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once before bed. The idea behind it is simple. Movement creates pressure. Pressure moves blood, and doing this gently and consistently beats doing something intense once in a while. If you can already feel a little difference just from trying that movement while you're watching, go ahead and tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps this information reach other people who are dealing with the exact same thing. Now, movement is only half the picture. The other half is what you're feeding those blood vessels, because we also need to help the endothelium, that inner lining we talked about earlier, rebuild itself and stay flexible. A few nutrients make an outsized difference here. Nitric oxide, the molecule that relaxes and widens your blood vessels, is made in your body from an amino acid called L-arginine, and you can support that process through food. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula are rich in natural nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide. Beets are probably the single best source, and a small glass of beet juice can genuinely make a noticeable difference in your circulation. Alongside that, vitamin C and vitamin E protect the walls of your blood vessels themselves. Vitamin C supports collagen production, which is essentially the structural cement holding your capillaries and veins together, while vitamin E is an antioxidant that helps prevent the kind of fat oxidation that stiffens arteries over time. You'll find both in citrus fruit, bell peppers, almonds, and sunflower seeds. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon, help lower the chronic low-grade inflammation that quietly damages your blood vessel lining over the years, and reducing that inflammation helps everything stay smoother and wider. A simple, practical way to think about all of this is color and variety on your plate. Dark leafy greens for the nitrates, citrus and peppers for the vitamin C, a handful of almonds or sunflower seeds for the vitamin E, and fatty fish like salmon a couple of times a week for the omega-3s. You don't need to overhaul your entire kitchen overnight. Even swapping one meal a day toward this pattern, say a spinach and citrus salad with salmon instead of something more processed, starts shifting things in the right direction over weeks, not months. For nerve support specifically, many of my patients do well with alpha-lipoic acid, an antioxidant that's been studied for its effect on nerve function, particularly when numbness is tied to both circulation and nerve health. And when it comes to B vitamins, especially B12, B6, and folate, these are essential for maintaining the protective sheath around your nerves. Here's something important that most people don't realize. Many seniors are already taking a B12 supplement and still not seeing improvement, and often the issue is the form of B12 they're taking. Look for methylcobalamin rather than the more common synthetic cyanocobalamin, because methylcobalamin is the active form your body can use immediately, which matters even more if your digestion has slowed down with age, as it does for many of us. It's a small detail on a supplement label, but it can be the difference between a bottle that sits in your cabinet doing very little and one that actually supports your nerves the way you're hoping it will. I do want to pause here and say something important because this matters. If you're on blood thinners or being treated for an existing heart or vascular condition, please talk to your doctor before adding any new supplement, including the ones I've just mentioned. Some of these, especially in higher doses, can interact with medications or affect clotting, and your doctor knows your full picture in a way I simply can't from here. This information is meant to support what you're already doing under your doctor's care, not replace it. Beyond the exercise and the nutrition, there are a few daily habits worth building in. Dehydration makes your blood thicker and stickier, which makes it harder for your heart to push it through those tiny capillaries, so aim for at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, and don't wait until you're thirsty to drink, because by then you're already behind. Many people also unconsciously tense the muscles in their legs, hips, or buttocks while sitting, and that tension presses on the major blood vessels feeding your lower leg almost like a tourniquet. Simply standing up every hour, even just to walk to the kitchen and back, releases that tension and gives your circulation a real boost. Remember, motion is lotion, not just for your joints, but as an actual pump for your veins. A warm foot soak in the evening is another simple habit worth trying. The warmth causes your blood vessels to widen, immediately increasing flow to the area, and just 10 minutes in warm water can help move stagnant blood out of your feet and leave you feeling noticeably lighter. A few drops of rosemary or peppermint oil can add a gentle circulation boost on top of that. Diaphragmatic breathing is another one that surprises people because it doesn't seem related to your feet at all, but it genuinely is. When you breathe deeply from your belly rather than shallowly from your chest, you change the pressure inside your abdomen in a way that actually helps draw blood from your legs back up toward your heart. Lie on your back, place a hand on your belly, breathe in slowly through your nose so your belly rises, then exhale slowly through pursed lips. 5 minutes of this a day meaningfully supports your venous return, and many people find it doubles as a wonderful way to unwind before bed. And in the evening, try elevating your legs above the level of your heart for about 15 minutes. Even 6 to 12 inches makes a real difference in draining pooled blood and letting fresh blood flow in more easily afterward. A couple of pillows under your calves while you watch the evening news is really all it takes. One more habit worth mentioning, and it's an easy one to overlook. Pay attention to how you're sitting throughout the day, not just how long. A chair that's too low, so your knees sit higher than your hips, actually restricts blood flow at the back of your thighs in a similar way to crossing your legs. If your favorite chair does this, a simple cushion to raise your seat height can help. Small adjustments like this add up alongside the bigger habits. Just as important as what to add is what to reduce. Prolonged sitting is the biggest one I see by a wide margin. Your body was never designed to stay in one position for 8 hours straight, and yet between reading, watching television, and simply resting, many of us do exactly that without realizing how much time has passed. Set a gentle reminder to get up every hour, even briefly, to walk, stretch, or run through your ankle rocker. It doesn't need to be a big production. 30 seconds of movement is often enough to reset that muscle pump. Crossing your legs is another habit worth breaking, and I know for many people it's an automatic, comfortable position they've held their whole lives. But it presses directly on the femoral artery and vein in your thigh, essentially crimping the hose and reducing flow to your lower leg while raising your risk of vein issues over time. Try to keep both feet flat on the floor, or gently propped up instead. And if crossing your legs is a deeply ingrained habit, don't worry about breaking it perfectly overnight. Just notice it more often and uncross when you catch yourself. And be mindful of tight clothing, tight socks, tight waistbands, or shoes that squeeze your toes, all work against the very circulation you're trying to protect. Take a look tonight at the marks your socks or waistband leave on your skin. If you see a deep indentation that takes a minute or more to fade, that's a sign something you're wearing is too tight. If your doctor has recommended compression socks, that's different. That's a therapeutic tool designed with the right graduated pressure in mind. but everyday clothing that squeezes is simply working against you. For those of you who want to take this even further, there are two natural compounds with solid research behind them worth knowing about. Pine bark extract, sometimes called pycnogenol, has been shown in human studies to support the health of the endothelium and help seal leaky capillaries, which can reduce swelling in the legs. Some of my patients who deal with noticeable ankle swelling by the end of the day have found this particularly helpful, though results tend to build gradually over several weeks rather than overnight. L-citrulline is another one worth knowing, because unlike L-arginine, which is converted into nitric oxide fairly inefficiently, L-citrulline is converted into L-arginine in the body first, and often raises nitric oxide levels more efficiently and for longer, meaning wider, more flexible blood vessels for a longer stretch of the day. And even something as simple as cayenne pepper, thanks to the capsaicin that gives it heat, has been shown to help dilate blood vessels and support circulation. A small pinch in warm water or stirred into a meal is an easy way to work it in, and it costs next to nothing compared to a supplement bottle. As with the supplements I mentioned earlier, please check with your doctor before adding these in any concentrated form, particularly if you're managing blood pressure or taking blood thinning medication, since capsaicin and these plant compounds can interact with certain prescriptions. This isn't me being overly cautious for the sake of it. It's simply that the same properties that make these things effective for circulation are the properties that matter most for your doctor to know about, especially if you're already on medication that affects your blood. Let's bring this all together into something you can actually follow, because I know that's often the hardest part, not knowing what to do, but fitting it into a day that's already full. In the morning, start with a glass of water. And if you take supplements, this is a good time for your B complex and alpha lipoic acid alongside a nitrate-rich breakfast, something like a green smoothie or a small beet shot. Right after you're dressed, run through your 1-minute ankle rocker and toe splay to kickstart circulation for the day. Through the day, get up and move every hour, avoid crossing your legs, and keep sipping water. In the afternoon, when energy tends to dip, repeat the ankle rocker, and if you have 5 extra minutes, add in the diaphragmatic breathing. In the evening, a warm foot soak, followed by 15 minutes with your legs elevated while you watch television or read, is a wonderful way to wind down. And one last round of the ankle rocker before bed helps reduce nighttime cramps and sets you up for better circulation while you sleep. Altogether, this entire routine takes less than 30 minutes spread across your whole day. And most of it happens while you're already sitting anyway. So it isn't asking you to find extra time you don't have, it's asking you to use the time you're already spending a little differently. I want you to really hear this. You are not too old for your legs and feet to feel lighter, warmer, and steadier again. Your circulatory system is remarkably responsive, even later in life, and it answers gentle, consistent care far more than it needs anything dramatic. That numbness, that tingling, that heavy feeling, it isn't a life sentence. It's a signal, and now you know exactly how to answer it. Think about what it would feel like to get up from bed in the morning without that first uncomfortable minute of pins and needles. Think about sitting through a whole movie or a whole visit with your grandchildren without that restless urge to shift your feet every few minutes just to feel them again. That's not an unreasonable hope. It's simply what tends to happen when circulation starts working the way it's meant to. Start with just the 1-minute fix today and give it a real, honest week before you judge whether it's working. In my experience, that's usually enough time to notice something shifting. Tell me in the comments which one you're going to try first, the ankle rocker, the beet juice, or the evening foot soak. I read every comment, and I love hearing which small change ends up making the biggest difference for each of you, because it's rarely the same one for everyone. If this video helped you understand what's really going on with your circulation, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video, where we'll go even deeper into keeping your legs strong and steady for years to come. And if you know someone, a spouse, a sibling, a friend who's been quietly dealing with the same tingling or heaviness in their legs, consider sending this their way. Sometimes the most helpful thing we can do for the people we love is simply hand them the explanation they've been missing.